Hi guys, today we're going to learn multiband compression and understand what it does, and also what is a dynamic EQ, which is basically a very similar function. Let's dive in and I will show you a few examples of how that works. I have here like a small loop running. Let's listen to this drum beat. If you listen to it in the context, you can notice that the snare is a little bit popping up. Okay, there's a little bit of top of the snare. Listen to this again. So what I do is I'm going to open our EQ and I'm going to ask this EQ only to take down the level in the range of the snare from the loop of the drums. Okay, so for example, let's listen to it without it. You can even see that there's like a bit of a lot of energy in the snare in relation to the bass drum. We want to just take down the energy in this part. How do we do it? We open up a EQ, but it's not just a regular EQ, because a regular EQ will take down the energy both for the snare and both for the kick, which harms the sound of the bass drum. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the point exactly in the middle of the peak of the snare, and I'm going to press right click, make dynamic, take down the range. This is the range. It means like what is the limit that I'm allowing this dynamic EQ to take it down, and then I'm setting the threshold according to the snare. Okay, before and after, let's do a test. This is before. This is after. This is before. This is after. Perfect. Okay, on to the next instrument in our loop. Let's look at this guitar. If you look at it, it's compressed, but it has a bit of dynamics. But let's listen to this guitar in solo. There is a little bit of a high frequency there that a little bit bugs me. Let's look at it in the multiband. Okay, you see it clearly in this range. There's a little bit of this bump. Maybe it was desirable, but I want to keep it balanced. I want the whole guitar to be kind of loud but balanced, not only those frequencies to chop up. So putting this, it's even by default setting out the range, very similar thing. This time we have more controls because we're using a multiband, a dedicated device for this process. Unlike the dynamic EQ, this thing is dedicated for the task of compression per frequency range. So here I can set the range and attack and release for the multiband compressor. Before, after, before, after. See, much more moderated. Let's listen to in the context. Before, the guitar is a little bit cutting through, and I like the level of it, but it just feels a bit unbalanced. I'm turning on our multiband. But now there's a little bit of a feeling of something that is a bit lost because we are compressing so much. So I can compensate a little bit in the level of this high frequency that we just compressed. That means that we are like kind of bringing the balanced sound in this frequency a little bit up. So it's a bit tighter, but still it's going to be a bit of a bump there. Shorter release. Very cool. Before, after. Before, after. Okay, so this was two examples of the dynamic EQ and the multiband compressor. Sometimes I'm using the dynamic EQ when it's like something very specific that I don't need a lot of control over. But if I cannot get it done, I get the multiband compressor. That's about it for multiband compressor and multiband EQ. Thank you.